Okay, in this video, we want to talk about the next section of the CARES Act that deals with rental property. We've talked about mortgage forbearance, and now we want to talk about the eviction moratorium. Before we do that, however, I want to disclose I am not an attorney. This presentation is for educational purposes only, and I'm not giving legal advice. Please seek competent legal counsel before making legal and investment decisions. So this section is 4024, and it's about the temporary moratorium on eviction filings. Okay, so what properties does this apply to? Well, there's certain specific covered properties, and it's going to be first tenant occupied. So this is not owner occupied properties. Tenant occupied and is very specific, and federally secured loans. Properties with federally secured loans. So FHA, VA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. There's a couple other ones in there as well, but these are going to be the most popular. And then it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a 1 through 4 that's kind of qualified as single family properties, or 5 or more multifamily. So those three things: tenant occupied, federally backed mortgages, and it doesn't matter what size property it is. Okay, who are the beneficiaries? Well, residential tenants who dwell in a covered property. This would not be commercial tenants, so no businesses that are in a property paying rent. It's only the residential tenants that are covered. What are the benefits? Well, the benefits are specifically to those tenants, and it's this: no eviction for non-payment of rent or other fees charged. So the way I read that, that doesn't mean that if a tenant is doing drugs in the property or human trafficking or something crazy that you can't evict them. This is specifically economic. You can't evict for non-payment of rent. Now, other fees or charges is also interesting. So this could be where maybe their dog rips up the carpet, you go in, you replace it, you charge the carpet to them, they don't pay. They're saying you can't evict them for non-payment. Now, you might be able to evict them for damage to the property, right? If it's egregious, you might be able to pull that off. But any type of economic, fee-based, non-payment-based reason you can't evict for. Also, no fees, penalties, or other charges to the tenant related to non-payment of rent. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then for 120 days from enactment, so that's going to put us about July 27-ish, depending on when enactment was. Was it when it was signed? Is there another date that happens for enactment? All right, there's also this other section in here that it's not really called a no-fault eviction, but that's really what it's getting at. A no-fault eviction has to do with when you just give a tenant, you don't actually go to the court to file the eviction and get a judgment and have the sheriff lock them out. Essentially, a no-fault eviction is when you just give someone a 30-day notice and say, hey, I don't want to rent to you anymore. Now, this is interesting from a couple different ways. Let me walk this through, and then we'll talk about the interest. So the lessor has to give the tenant a 30-day notice to vacate, which that's pretty standard, right? That's nothing unique there. But that 30-day notice must be submitted after about July 27th. So you have to push that out 120 days and then give them another 30 days to move out. So you can't actually give them a 30-day notice today. You'd have to wait 120 days, give them the notice, give them another 30 days. So the earliest the tenant can move out would be about the end of August. Now, why this is interesting is because what if you're a single-family homeowner that wants to move back into their home next month, 3 months from now? Can't do it. You cannot actually give the tenant a notice to say, hey, listen, I no longer want to rent you my property. I'm going to move back in. I lost my job, whatever. You can't do it. So that's kind of interesting. And that's on these covered properties. So now, what's a non-covered property? Well, by implication, if you own it 100%, right? You haven't partnered with the federal government to finance the property. You have no mortgage. This doesn't apply to you. Or if you've borrowed from a private local bank or maybe an insurance company, if they've financed your property and your mortgage, also, as long as the federal government's not a partner with you in that property, this would not apply to you. So to summarize 4024, in one sentence, residential properties secured by a federal loan may not evict, charge late fees, or give a 30-day notice to tenants until after July 27, 2020. All right, so I will quick link this to, I want to quick show you that bill. There is the address for your reference. And then I just want to thank you. And if you want to stay informed about policies that will affect your rental property, just email us at support@expressrpm.com and say I'm in. Now go wash your hands.